Welcome to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and we like to hear from our listeners. If you have a real estate question, you can always give us a call at 844-788-9444. A few weeks ago, we did a spooky Halloween show. We asked our listeners to call us and share their favorite haunted house stories. Garla called, and she's going to share her ghost story with us. Hey, Garla, thanks for calling into Houston Real Estate Radio. Are you ready to share your story with us on air?
I do. I live out what is on Cypresswood Drive now, north of the airport. Mm-hmm. But when I bought my place here in 1974, it was called Tatter Cemetery Road. And it does have a Pioneer Cemetery on it, which is one of the most active cemeteries in the state, by the way. And we're about, maybe a quarter mile or so from that cemetery. But through the years, there was some strange noises and bumps in the night and all. We built a new house in 1980, which was closer to, I think, a real active spot on the 10 acres of property. And in the mid-'90s, we just had all sorts of things happening, it seemed like. People falling off horses and, little catastrophic things. And somebody said, you need to get a shaman in and cleanse that place. Well, we got one in, and he said that there was a 14-year-old boy, in that case, where he thought a young teenager, mm-hmm. that had lost his life on this place, and his spirit was having a hard time crossing over. And that's another really long story of how we did the cleansing, and he wanted to take a horse with him, and he had been trying to get this paint horse, of course, we're an Indian, to go, and I offered him a horse that we already had buried on the property, and we thought that was satisfying, but not too much long later, the paint horse had an accident and had to be put down, and I really kind of blamed him for that. Mm. But the catastrophic things calmed down a little bit. But over the years, since the 90s, there has been sightings, and I have to admit, I have not seen this child. It's a little boy, and but different people in my operation, people that are living here at the house or working here at the house, have seen a little boy on numerous occasions. And I had a big red 650 pickup, kind of an overgrown pickup truck. And I had one lady here from Africa, and she probably saw him more than anybody. And he rearranges things in the house sometimes and tosses little things around, not ever at anyone. So he's not done anything malicious mm-hmm. to the people that are in the house. But
so you have renters in the house.
Well, I have many people. I'm single, but I have employees that end up living here. I have exchange students that come from far and away countries to live and train with us in endurance. And so I may be here alone, or there may be 4 other people in the house. Okay. And it just depends on the day and the time of year.
So you have people come in who've never heard anything about any ghost stories, and they see him and tell you about him.
Right. And the strangest one, though, was about 2 years ago. I was home alone, but I was downstairs. The house was elevated, like on stilts. Mm-hmm. And underneath is our barn and stalls. And I was downstairs doing some things with the horses in the barn. And to the best of my knowledge, there was no one upstairs. And the husband of the lady that worked for me came by and went upstairs, I guess probably to find me. And a few minutes later, he came down in the barn, and he said, who's that little boy up in the kitchen? And I'm like, and I was trying to think who might have dropped a kid in the kitchen and gone out to see a horse or something, And I'm like, I don't know. And I said, why? And he goes, well, he's sitting there at the table, and he's really rude. And I'm like, what? He goes, I kept saying, hey, what's up, bub? How you doing? And he would never answer me. And I'm like, really? I said, Thomas, I don't think there's anybody here. And he swore up and down that this kid was sitting there big as ever, but he wouldn't talk to him. So I went up, and of course there was nothing there, and then it occurred to me that this was the little boy that others had seen. Wow. It totally freaked him out because he had never, he had not really heard the stories, although in the trailer house, sometimes drawers would be pulled out and things rearranged a little bit too, so that kind of alerted he and his wife to strange happenings. But in the late 90s, I was in College Station, and we were starting to organize an organization for Texas. And during the get acquainted thing, we all said where we were from and the street where we lived, and I introduced myself, and I said, I'm from Humble, but I don't live in Humble. I live out on what used to be Tatter Cemetery Road and blah, blah, blah. And I heard one man kind of take his breath in. And I said, you don't know where that is? Because it was, at that point, it was very remote. I mean, it was the end of the world. It was a dead-end street into the creek. Mm-hmm. And he goes, oh, yes, I know where that is. And I said, what do you mean? He said, oh, my wife and I used to play there as kids and teenagers, and that's haunted, you know.
Oh, wow.
So the goosebumps came, and I'm like, you're kidding. And I started asking him questions, and evidently there had been a Boy Scout camp in this spot where we are now, and there had been some kind of death. But I've never been able to track it down, and I hope that the show might, some of the old timers might remember what happened on Tatter Cemetery Road, probably back in maybe the 50s or 60s, because that would have been when they played here as kids, would have been that time frame.
And that's when the Boy Scouts owned it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. And one of the big floods evidently wiped out their whole camp. There's one of their buildings remaining that's back away from the creek that's kind of fallen in disrepair. But there's a concrete porch between my house and the creek, and I've always felt that was kind of the active spot, if you will. But I would love to know if anybody has any records or memory of any kind of death. I don't know if it was a murder or accidental death or what may have happened.
Well, maybe somebody listening will hear this and will call us and give us the back scoop on what happened out there. So,
yeah, that would be great to know after all these years.
The cemetery that's still on the property, do people still visit that cemetery? Is it
well, it's not on my property. Okay. It's about a quarter mile from the bridge, and on it's almost exactly a mile, just short of a mile from 1960. North on Cypresswood Drive. It's on the right, and it is a pioneer cemetery, and so there's people buried there that were some of the original settlers, and it is private. And I checked because I'd like to be buried there, but they said, nope, you have to be part of the family to be buried there. And it's a really interesting place itself, and I can, ride by and look over the fence at it. And at times I've been able to get in when they have it open and look at some of the old graves. But
now, did you ever
take pictures? There's lots of orbs.
Wow. Now, you said you had someone come out to try to speak to this ghost and try to fix this situation, but you never found any resolution with it, or has it gotten better over the years?
Well, at that time it did get better. Things calmed down a bit after we had the shaman cleansing.
Okay.
But that's been, like I said, back in the 90s. And, of course, you just naturally have things that happen when you have horses and green people riding horses. And then we had a horrible situation with the flood this year, but I don't blame that on anything paranormal.
So you're still living there?
Oh, yeah. I'm living here. Okay. And he doesn't bother me at all. And like I said, I don't see him, but other people do. And, things get moved around in the house. It's a little strange. I have a big carousel horse that probably weighs, 150, 200 pounds. It's one of the old Carmel carousel horses. And it was dumped in the oddest position. I mean, I can hardly pick it up myself a few weeks ago. And we all had a kind of a giggle about him messing with a Carmel horse. Because that was the biggest thing that had been moved. But
so it doesn't bother you. So that's why you haven't tried to find any more resolution with it. Have someone else come out and try to talk to it or do any changes or anything.
No, I mean he's pretty harmless, and evidently we're all at peace right now. So there's not really any point in doing much. It might be interesting to have someone that would get his story, perhaps. But
so to hear it. So do you don't think he's you think he's from the 50s or 60s? You don't think he's from previous, like an Indian child or something? You think he's from the
no,
Boy Scouts?
He well could be, because there's one, maybe a couple of them. There's one that's a young teenager, and the one that is cited the most is what they call the little boy, who's, I'm guessing, in a 6 to 8, 9-year-old time frame.
Oh, okay.
Age frame.
So there's a couple different boys that people have seen. Wow. Well, that's quite a story. I hope you find some resolution with it. Maybe one of our listeners out there will recall what happened out there with the Boy Scouts and will call
Yeah,
in
that was
and let us know so we can air the story so you can have some peace of mind with it.
That would be great because something happened here. I mean, there was no doubt from the person that had played here as a kid knew there was something bad that had happened here, and they considered it very haunted. No, but he says we would not stay down there after dark.
Wow.
I'm like, great, I live there.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I'm going to be out of town next weekend, so please save me a recording of the show. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I definitely will. Well, all the recordings of the shows every week are always online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. So you can always listen to anything that you miss on the show. And of course, we're on iTunes and iHeartRadio as well. So we appreciate you calling in and giving us your story. It's a great ghost story. I hope you do find some resolution with it. It would be great to know the backstory on what happened on that property. So
All right.
I appreciate you calling in and wish you the best of luck.
All right. Thank you so much.
If you have a real estate question, give us a call and we'll answer it on air for you. 844-788-9444. If you missed any of the show, catch it online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. We'll be right back with another call in from a listener after a word from our sponsors on Houston Real Estate Radio.
Imagine you and your family return from a tropical vacation to find that one of your pipes burst, flooding your entire house. Are you fully covered? Will you only receive $100 for your TV that cost you $2,000 just 2 years ago? Will your insurance company pay for you to live in a hotel while your home is being repaired? What if on that same trip you lose your wedding ring? Will your home insurance coverage replace that as well? All insurance policies are not created equal. If you don't know the answer to these questions, you're not alone. Most people don't understand the gaps in their coverage until it's too late. Call Goosehead Insurance today and let one of our agents review your current policy to ensure that you are fully covered. At Goosehead Insurance, we understand the power of choice. Instead of working for a single insurance company, our agents have access to over 20 A-rated carriers. This allows us to craft a policy to fit your particular lifestyle, budget, and needs. It also enables us to reshop your policy in the future, if necessary, saving you time and money. No need to look for another agent. At Goosehead, we've got you covered. Our agents will walk you through each policy decision so that you have the coverage you need. If that's not reason enough, talk to one of our happy clients. Our client satisfaction scores are 3 times the industry average. To experience the Goosehead Insurance difference, visit us online at goosehead.com or call us at 800-474-1377.